right, so here we have an orthomosaic map in Pix4dCloud. And initial interaction is fairly intuitive. You can zoom in. Let's say we'd like to look at these pots here. And then of course we can click and drag as we want to navigate around. Now let's say, for instance, that we'd like to take a measurement. We'd like to know how wide is this window panel. You can take a measurement at this level, but you'd be less precise. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit. And I want to know actually the glass. So I'm going to pick, let's say this pixel. There's an overlap there where the camera is not quite sure where the glass starts, but it's only 3 pixels wide. So let's pick the middle one, and let's say right there, we'll start. So we click and it starts drawing a line. I'm going to zoom out and zoom back in over here. I'm going to do my best to get this line straight across. And let's say I'm going to pick this pixel. Maybe we'll go down one. Let's pick that pixel. We click, and then we click again. A check mark appears there. You can't see it behind the cursor, but there's a check mark there. We'll click again. And now we get a 2D length, 1.74 meters. So that's how we get a length. And of course, you can zoom out to look at the measurement you took. Looks like it's maybe not quite as flat as I thought it was, but pretty close. That gives you the idea. Now that line shows up here in the annotations. You could name it, of course. We'll call it window width, and you could write a description. You can change its color, all kinds of fun things. We can measure an area very similarly. Polygon, I'll just pick a random area out here. Let's just see how much a particular area of rocks are. So we'll click, click, click. Now we've got a polygon. So if we're satisfied with that polygon, we would click on the check mark. If we want to add more points to our polygon, let's say we want it to be like that. Now we'll click that check mark, and we've got an area, and we've got a 2D perimeter. So how far is it around that perimeter? Of course, you can do the same thing here, change your color, name the polygon, things like that. Now we can do circles similarly. This is pretty intuitive. So I clicked at the center, I scrolled out, and I clicked again where I wanted to close it. And it generates that circle, and it tells me radius, area, all of those things. Now the last thing that we can do is we can add a tag. So let's say, ooh, I really like this Corvette. So we're just going to put a tag mark here and say, oh, let's just call it Corvette. All right, so you can put a tag there. Now, if you want to click out of that, you can just click there and it just goes away. You could do the same thing on this side and make that go away. Now you have a much more, a less cluttered map. But let's bring those back. Now, let's say that a coworker is coming in, working on this same project on a different computer out in Santa Fe, and they want to see what window stuff you measured. So they can click there and it brings up those details and it highlights. You can see right here, it highlights as you mouse over it. So then they could zoom in and say, oh yeah, that's the window that was measured, and here's your commentary, blah, blah, blah. Now, let's say they've finished looking at it and they want to get rid of it, or you don't like the measurement that you took. It's very easy to just come in and delete the layer. So these are unnecessary, so I'll delete them as well. We don't need those. I have added in several points already, which you can see here. So let's say the main building we want to look at. I've given you a YouTube link for each location, generally speaking, in the 360 walkthrough video. So if you click that, it loads up right where we're about to walk into the building. And 360 videos, you can click and drag to look around, whether it's paused or playing. I recommend choosing a higher quality resolution, not as high as you can get. That way you can actually see what's going on. So there's your 360 video loaded up exactly where we walk into the main building. Okay, so all of those are here. You can look at the 3D version. So we'll just go there. Now this is loading a point cloud as opposed to a flat surface kind of mesh. So the point cloud, if you zoom in, you can see it's a whole bunch of little pixels that put together the overall image. Now you can click and drag like this or zoom. I use Command. I guess on a Windows it'd probably be Control. So I can Command and click and drag to actually pan around within the scene if you want to do that and zoom in. Now this mesh, or rather this point cloud, is okay. The flight path, it was not planned to generate a high quality mesh, but it's here if you guys would like to use it for your planning. Now you can turn on the textured mesh, and now we start to get something a little bit less pixelated, a little bit more like what you would actually see walking in. But again, it's going to take it a couple of seconds to render, and this flight path was not specifically for 3D model, but I went ahead and created it, and so you can play with it if you'd like to. Some areas where the camera can't see, the computer just guesses what might be there, and it usually guesses wrong. We call this icing. But okay, back to the 2D map. We'll turn off the textured mesh in the point cloud.